Колеги,
Dear colleagues, good afternoon. Let's go on our day. Today is our last press briefing. Now we will discuss rehabilitation in Ukraine, rehabilitation of the guys who came back from ATO area, who were wounded there, how they are living now, and is there any life after wounds? Now it's a peaceful territory of Ukraine. Today we have the fighters of 25th Paratroopal Brigade from Dnipropetrovsk. Last year the guys in July, in August were wounded. Viktor Khoduk, Roman Panchenko, and Sergei Kaldyuk, they are the participants of the military actions. They will introduce themselves to give us a possibility to understand who is who. And now Alessia Kaladnyak will the head of the All Ukrainian Association of Physical Therapy of Western Region and coordinator of USA project. And also we have Seval Stebluk here, assistant to and now I give the floor to Lesia. Thank you very much for the introduction, for the possibility to take a part in this press conference. The initiative was to point your attention to the rehabilitation problems in Ukraine. And as from the beginning of the military actions, I started working as physical therapist in military hospital as a volunteer. Now I'm working there full time. But we have a problem in what way rehabilitation is going on, in what way countries supporting the rehabilitation. I'm very grateful to the doctors of this clinical center, military center, who understood that when guys started coming in June 2014, that without physical rehabilitation, without physical therapy, it would be complicated to return our guys to the normal life. That's why from the very beginning we as physical therapists we adopted there as volunteers, as our specialty in Ukraine is not regulated. This profession is not in the main list of the hospitals. That's why at the moment there is a big problem of giving the rehabilitation services to our wounded soldiers, because we don't have specialists who could give quality professional service, as they're not in the main list. That's why in the main list of the hospitals now military actions are going on for a long time already. We have a lot of wounded soldiers, but still this issue is open. We can solve it locally. For example, at the moment, rehabilitation unit of our military hospital in Lviv opens the door for rehabilitation doctors. And during the last year, they made rehabilitation unit. And they have 7 rehabilitation doctors in their main list who can provide their services to the wounded soldiers. But it's not the solution from the situation, because these rehabilitation doctors, they're working with the salary at the salary of the nurse, medical physical culture, and so on and so forth. And still we are on the development stage, and it's one of the centers who opens the doors and who provide quality services. But talking about other centers, unfortunately we don't have the services there. And not just wounded guys require these services. There are other people, for example, people after heart attack, or there are children with some disabilities who need these services. That's why this issue is very actual in Ukraine. And unfortunately, in all the countries, war is a kind of powerful driver of development of rehabilitation services. And now I would like to give the floor to Vsevolod, who will tell us more from the side of Ministry of Defense. Dear colleagues, dear journalists, Really, it's a very popular topic at the moment, but unfortunately, and it is traditional already, the words don't reflect the actions. In the Ministry of Defense, we started developing actively rehabilitation in 2015. In 2014, till the new team of medical service came to the Ministry of Defense, 150 wounded soldiers got rehabilitation services, and during 2015, 2,800 guys. So in some ways they got this rehabilitation. What bothers us? First of all, it is the absence of legislation base. We can celebrate anniversary already when we started working on the law about rehabilitation. The specialists, and these specialists are high level. They are professors, doctors of science. They are members of Professional Association of Ukrainian Association of Rehabilitation Medicine, Ukrainian Association of Physical Therapists, all Ukrainian Association of Neurorehabilitation, and the tutors of the leading medical universities. They appeal to the Verkhovna Rada with the issue to reconsider the basis of rehabilitation in Ukraine. In the issues of veterans and disabled people, Mr. Tretyak, he gathered initiative group, and we developed preliminary draft law about rehabilitation, taking into consideration experience of Baltic countries, of Israel, and for the beginning of 2015, required changes were proposed. But maybe because rehabilitation topic is very profitable for PR, is very profitable to earn some political capital on these issues, Committee of Verkhovna Rada on Medical Issues joined this group. They created coordination group headed by Deputy Irina Sesoenko. The group started growing, and at the moment they have meetings 2 times a month. But still we have just first article of the law, definition of the terms, because they're trying to block the acceptance of the term neurotherapist and physical therapist by the people who don't want to develop rehabilitation medicine in Ukraine. There are people who hold their positions because for the moment physiotherapist is a medical specialty that can be prepared during 3 months after the main specialty. And mainly there are apparatus methods of neurotherapy, and in the most of the medical centers is a very obsolete. Also, it is blocked by the people who are holding the position of the chief part-time specialist. These people don't want to lose their positions. They don't want to lose their titles and also the position in the Academy of Medical Science, because now there is a position of academic with a specialty physiotherapy and research science. But all these things are very far away from real rehabilitation. We could tell you that all this noise was about young specialists who have some contemporary visions, that there are just young people who didn't see real life, young people who didn't work with wounded people. But initiative group within these associations, and some communities join them. For example, Uliana Suprun, who was appointed as the head of School of Physical Therapy of Ukrainian Catholic University. The support of global community, global rehabilitation community. Our Ukrainian organizations are accepted in these global organizations. That is a sign that we are trying to move forward. Also, we have proposed contemporary program, for example, by Canada, by civil communities of Canada. They are ready to accept our doctors to Canada to teach them what to do. That medical specialty in all the world proposed 3 years after getting qualification of family doctor. It will be the leader of multidisciplinary team. The level of physical therapist and ergotherapist, occupational therapy, is a level of master. There are specialists who can work independently with people who require this rehabilitation.
Today we have a lot of resistance for promotion or programs, and even they uh, they do something which is not understood by our partners abroad, who are prepared to give us assistance, but they say why we should teach you something which you do not have, which do not exist in your countries. We have these different standards and norms, and specifically this group which they do not allow to develop, they slow down our movement towards Europe or a civilized society. What's going on in Verkhovna Rada? A bit of politics now. When they try to adopt the law against discrimination for any sign or any on any basis, that means that in our country we can have discrimination, this or another kind of discrimination. The same discrimination is being created based on the professional aspects. They do not allow those specific therapeutical sciences and case to develop. Actually, we already achieved some results. We have rehabilitation departments in Lviv, in one of the hospitals, in the Vinnytsia hospital. We develop our spa base where our servicemen go through the rehabilitation procedure. We prepare the training curriculum for the Ukrainian Military Medical Academy. We are ready to start training our students for the physiotherapists and other. And biomedical engineering department in Kiev, they are prepared to start the teaching of ergotherapy and the medical therapy, and all those students are go through the practical training, specifically build centers. Everything is ready. We can start, but who is going to be our graduates? What they are going to do when they graduate after taking the world level knowledge of their specialization? This is absolutely inadmissible today. This is really this demonstrates that our authorities, our legislators, actually manipulate what they try to show us they are doing and what they're doing indeed. You know, the words are not always equal to deeds, you know. No, I'm not translating to deeds. Now I would like to give the floor our guys who are going to share their personal experience they had while going through rehabilitation program in the Lviv hospital. Victor, Roman, and Sergey, right? My name is Sergey. I'm the first Sergeant Kalityuk. I was wounded on June 19, 2014, following which I was hospitalized in Kharkov. They were underwent the first surgical operation, and in a week after they sent me to Lviv. So what was the beginning of my rehabilitation program? Our rehabilitation therapy started to after the intensive therapy. We went through the course of medical treatment course of rehabilitation experts. They came to us when they came to know that we were wounded in the ATO zone. We did not suffer any kind of consequences, and when we were lying on the bed in the hospital, we actually learned whatever we could while being in the hospital, what we could do in sitting and actually living in wheelchair. My name is Roman Panchenko. I'm a former member of brigade number 25. Also was put to Kharkov hospital. After operation, I was moved to the Lviv. 2 weeks later, rehabilitation expert came to us. I couldn't do anything, absolutely nothing. I could not turn. I could not take care of putting some clothes on me, or not nor eat, not anything else. We will start to learn anew how to dress ourselves, how to eat, how to turn, how to move from bed into wheelchair and back, how to live, generally speaking. Yeah, we were also given a chance to visit the swimming pools. Unofficially, that was not allowed, 4 months later, after 1 month of intensive care and 3 months of rehabilitation, could do anything but not walk, unfortunately. Also, they brought from other hospitals from Kiev, Odessa, Kharkov, other guys wounded with similar injuries. They had a kind of, they were in a worse condition. They had some complications, and it required more time. How do I put it? They actually returned, let's say, to the ranks. Let's put it this way. But again, while taken after their exercises with rehabilitation experts, they actually changed, almost overnight. Good afternoon. I'm the active army Victor Verkaduk. I was in Dnipropetrovsk aerial mobile brigade. I was wounded on August 16th, 2014. In other words, 2 months later than my comrades. And first, I was taken immediately after being wounded to Kharkov. I stayed there for 4 days in the ward of intensive therapy, and then they decided where to put me, to Kiev or Lviv. Then they asked me, and then they sent me to Odessa. In Odessa, I spent 3 months. I had a lot of fractures and burns, and they did not heal. In Odessa, nobody actually took care of me. The major fragment of the shell, which was sitting in my backbone, nobody actually took it, removed it, because nobody dared to do that. So this is the true story. So in other words, nobody actually did anything with me. I was just lying in the bed, but I didn't have bed sores, the pressure marks. Then they wanted me to send me home just in a lying position. I couldn't even sit in a wheelchair because nobody actually took care of the physical exercise with me. Then they sent me to Lviv. 2 weeks later, they operated on me. They removed the fragment of the shell from my body, and then I underwent a further rehabilitation program. They taught me how to move from bed to the wheelchair, so they started from scratch, so to say. And now, again, I continue this rehabilitation procedure, and I can walk for 70 meters in a special stroller. In other words, yet in the let's say the intensive care therapy ward, we didn't know what rehabilitation means. We were visited by specialists, and they started to do something with our legs, and we didn't know why. And actually, we were wounded in June, in the middle of June. We thought that in a couple of months we will be able to walk. I had some wounds in one of the vertebrae, fourth and fifth, and I was fortunate that there was no fragment coming to my head. So, the medical officer comes and starts to move our legs. Okay, let's do it. Then we were dismissed from the hospital, and we started to do more physical exercises, and they started to teach us how to sit in the wheelchair, how to do something while sitting in the wheelchair. And there were some people coming from Kiev, for 2 and 3 months. I mean, wounded guys who could not even sit in a wheelchair. So, because we were taken care of at a very early stage of being wounded, so the doctors were successful in doing something. They actually taught us what we could do. Actually, whoever could do anything can do that, but we only sit in a wheelchair. Sometimes they call them the nurses in the hospitals. They occupy the positions. Yeah, they take the positions of the nurses actually, which is not really serious. We are talking about the top-notch and skillful doctors and physicians. This is very serious and much required specialization in the medical sphere. It has to be registered and have the right to existence. Also, I would like to say a lot of thanks to the Lviv Military Hospital for the fact that they met halfway rehabilitologists. They actually opened a department for rehabilitation with wounded guys. So those physicians not only did their own work and tried to teach the patients how to live for their own, but they also helped a lot in different other things. They actually helped to find the wheelchairs for their patients. And a lot of other assistance was rendered by them. In other words, they not only did their own job and their duties, but a lot more other things. So we can demonstrate one of the video which you brought with you, and then we'll have a question and answer session.
І близькі мої стали далекими, вклеєні фото на пам'ять, наступний альбом. Хлібом одним ситі напоїні, часом болять, рани загоєні, а кому мало, як завжди, сидять за столом. Дайте нам бути такими, якими ми є. Дайте нам спокій від ваших щоденних атак. Дайте нам бути такими, якими ми є. Тому, хто чує, давно вже всі ясно і так. Зайві слова кимось та й сказані, вільні думки, недопоказані, пальці стискають метал, а мовчить мікрофон. Та й недавно стали відомими друзі чомусь, стали знайомими всі, хочуть встигнути сісти в останній вагон. Дайте нам бути такими, якими ми є. Дайте нам спокій від ваших щоденних атак. Дайте нам бути такими, якими ми є. Тому, хто чує,
There is Juliana Suprum in our audience, the founder of the community of patriots. Today we will discuss on what did you do in Ukrainian Catholic University, please. Thank you very much. Last week we had 3 days conference in Ukrainian Catholic University. We opened the School of Rehabilitation and Medicine where we will teach physiotherapists and ergotherapists. It's master's program. The 2 of the guys were present at our conference and we even had the whole day with them. We devoted to the difficulties of people with disability of their living in Ukraine. Even one of our tutors told us, he was one of our speakers, the guy who doesn't have 2 legs. He told us how did he come to Kiev, to Lviv from Kiev, how did he come to railway station in Kiev, and the escalator didn't work, and the people were bringing him upstairs. After that he came to the railway line and he couldn't without other people to go to the train because he needed to go downstairs. And the people really were bringing him into the train, and that's what all people with disability need suffer in Ukraine. How we can improve it? First of all, we need to have physiotherapists such as Lacey and some other doctors who will provide the services the guys had, to teach them how to return to their normal life as soon as possible. I don't think that these guys have some limited abilities. You could see how they work and you could see how great these guys are, but still they need to adapt to some things. For example, it was a little complicated to go to the stage because we don't have here right ways for the wheelchairs. That's the one thing. But the other thing, how we can improve it. We can have physiotherapists, we can have ergotherapists who will help them to adapt to normal life. And second, to have new social programs and law in Ukraine acceptable for them, to let them have the same possibilities all of us have. And these are 2 powerful things that we need to change in Ukraine. As Sevala told us before, now we have a problem with legislation because we are working in working group, we are working with the Ministry of Health, we are trying to do something, but it has been a year already, and now there is a time to act, not just to discuss it. Today at 4 p.m. we have working group at the Ministry of Health and Verkhovna Rada with the participation of all the experts. And we invited the head of this working group is Irina Sasoenko, the deputy of Verkhovna Rada, the leader of subcommittee at Verkhovna Rada on rehabilitation issues. And she invited to our conference all people who were present to come to the working group to give speeches there. Guys, together with Lesia, were at the conference, and they decided to come from Lviv at their own cars, 3 guys with their own wheelchairs, together with Lesia, to come here to the press conference and to visit the working group and to show at last that enough words. Now we need to act. I'm very grateful to guys, to Lesia, that they come, that they help us to break the walls in front of us. Mr. Sevel from the very beginning opened these doors in the Ministry of Defense for our physical therapists, and even there are no ergotherapists in Ukraine, but we need to open the doors to let them start working. But we need these laws first. We need classificators in the Ministry of Social Politics, because now Lesia, according to the laws, she is a nurse. We wanted her to work at her own position, the position of physiotherapist. Thank you very much. And now I would like to give the floor to the next speaker. And also I would like to add something. Now rehabilitation centers are created everywhere in Ukraine. Probably it's fashionable now, but there are not so many good rehabilitation specialists. So what is the meaning to create so many centers if they can't even explain me how to move in the wheelchair? We've been to many rehabilitation centers, and they're doing just physical exercises with our legs, with our arms, but they didn't explain us how to live with all that. And I'm very thankful to all these ladies present and who are not present today, who explained us that. And we need to create official position, not just to create rehabilitation centers to put a lot of money into them and to watch them, to launder. Thank you very much, Uliana, for giving me the floor. I'm a doctor myself, candidate of medical science from the organization Ecology of Medical Science. More than 18 years I was teaching rehabilitation in the form it was existing in Ukraine, and our conclusion for now is that this profession is very required. It is required by the guys who suffered during the military actions, but also to those who have disabled function of movement. They need about 2-3 hours of work with specialists every day, and there are people who need practical skills how to live with that, and that's why now there is the problem of rehabilitation doctors. Physical therapist is the real name of this profession because for more than a year it includes a lot of functions into physical therapy. It is a therapy by physical means, methods, and movement. And it's very important that we called our profession in the right way. We called in the right way the profession of people who should do one of the most important parts in polyfunctional rehabilitation brigade. That is a name existing all over the world. And to let our specialists the possibility to teach on the highest level possible, to teach us on practice in the international centers, in the centers of other countries, in the medical centers in our country. First of all, they shall have the right title of their profession. Second, educational programs adapted in the best way to the teaching of these specialists. And the ground of these trainings are the programs proposed by foreign specialists, physical therapists with huge experience, with normal practical education, and who are ready to give these services to our specialists. But unfortunately, we are blocked, and we are blocked very much to make this profession, to call it in the right way, to develop it in the right way in Ukraine, and to give to the specialist those positions in medical institutions where he can't go according to the conditions we are working in at the moment. And I think it's not just a problem of some concrete field of the medical industry, because there are not doctors, there are specialists of medical field, but they don't have the profession of a doctor. They have high education, and it's not just a problem of those professionals, those specialists. That is the problem of our society, because for the moment everybody can be in the place of these guys, and every person will require this help, but there is nobody to help them, because it's not the function of the doctor, it's not the function of a nurse, it is a function of the concrete specialist.
Well, I would like to put the questions to our guys or the speakers, please. You had some questions here, right? My name is Nadezhda Karamshina. I'm chairman of the Association of Mothers Protection. I am the mother of the serviceman of 25th Aerial Brigade. Nail Karamshin is the name of my son. He is a major sergeant. So I really would like to ask you the following question. Did you address the chief commander-in-chief regarding this specific issue. I'm talking about the president of Ukraine. I understand. Thank you very much. And actually, we wrote the letter to the presidential administration. And again, talking about the presidential administration, say the advisor or the commander-in-chief on the medical issues is Olga Bogomolets, who is the chairman of the profile committee in Verkhovna Rada. So everything was kind of closed loop. Everything comes again to the committee on the issues of rehabilitation. I am grateful to you that you actually organized such a press conference. I'm going to approach those guys. I was, by chance I'm here. They called me just 20 minutes ago, and I was rushing to reach you here because I'm mother. My son was through the different fighting and the combat actions. I know what does it mean to lose your children. On behalf of mothers of all those guys who defend our Ukraine, on behalf of those mothers, the sons of who you can see here on this stage in the wheelchairs. Mr. President, Petro Alexeyevich, this is a very important topic. Just look at those young faces. They're full of life, and they were courageous enough not only to defend our land, but also to sit here and smile. So take this issue under your personal control as a father, as the man, as the president, as the commander-in-chief, because those courageous people appeared during this press conference, and they want to actually to save, to do another deed of honor to save those guys who are committed to beds today. They cannot move. So the chairman of the Association of Mothers, Ukrainian Warriors, Nadia Kurashina. Thank you. Good afternoon, dear ladies and gentlemen. My name is Stepan Kobelev. I'm chairman of Ukrainian Association of Physiotherapists. And it's not really a question, it's kind of comment. I know I can do anything, I'm so good, my profession is the best one, but I think that those guys can say something for me. They know what physical therapy means. They know what is what here, how it should be done. We are not talking about some kind of instrument or the equipment or devices or whatever. First of all, we are talking about the persons to have real human hearts. And I would like to thank the guys for the fact they came here also to listen Vsevolod. Also, I would like to draw attention to the following very small detail. There are people who intentionally block the reforms in Ukraine. We can give your name, the names to you. In this kind of organized coordination as council, which have a sitting at 1600 today, they do not allow me to be present there. They openly or straightforwardly put it to me, and they let me know that I won't desired. They don't want to see me there. And I believe they will understand themselves. We are talking about the Sergei Nikodimich Bachinsky. First of all, I'm talking about Branislav Francovich Medzinski, the assistant of Sasoeva. Those are the people who actually joined them in that. Among those, Stukalin, Bykov, which has no grounds to go through special probation training in the Ministry of Health, and is going to be the head of the Rehabilitation Department. Those people for more than 6 months without, dishonestly and absolutely bluntly block all this issue, owing to the personnel policy of the Ministry of Health of Ukraine and those who are responsible for rehabilitation. On their behalf, I would like to say a few words. Last year, I raised such an issue, if I'm not mistaken, in September last year when I came back from Ilovaisk. And after all this tragedy and I lived through, and you remember how many guys badly required or needed that kind of rehabilitation course. And in those days, we had the kind of the Department of Rehabilitation, Paleomedicine Department, if I'm not mistaken. And there was no one, no, actually, expert or specialist in the rehabilitation medicine with specific training or let's say a rank. I hope that the change of the authorities and the new government and the new parliament will strengthen its kind of the component of the Ministry of Defense. We have a lot of medical workers who do not have any specific medical education. We have the specialists Sergei Bachinsky, who I know from a long time, the main specialist in the city of Kiev, who over the 20 years in this office could not actually write or defend his bachelor's or let's say master's thesis. And now we have the situation when if you're talking about the medical social expertise and the rehabilitation, or they're going to have the department of the Ministry of Health or Care. Also, the special training will be taken by my acquaintance Bekov, who actually organized some kind of tourist trips. But he's he first of all he doesn't have a diploma of a doctor. He is, let's say, paramedic, or also he has a diploma of engineer. But this kind of approach actually kills everything, all the ideas, and we actually face the absence of professionalism. I know that there are four masters of science in medical rehabilitation sphere. I defended my thesis back in 2007 in this specific sphere. In other words, there are some people, but the personnel policy today in the country, what is more convenient for the directorate to implement any kind of approaches which have nothing to do at all with the development of medicine altogether. I would like ask Lesia, maybe the guys who have some final, let's say, addresses, who would like to address somebody, to those people who block those changes, or well, myself as an expert who works on a daily basis in the Department of Rehabilitation of the Medical Center of the Western region, I actually come across this problem every day. And with the fact that actually they block here in this country the development of rehabilitation medicine, and starting from the moment, from the day of work of this council, the 7 months. Actually, me myself as a specialist, I cannot name you a single change or let's say transformation which could have taken place. The time flies and we have a lot of wounded persons. And our department receives the patients with a very severe spinal injuries, the let's say the brain damages. We have anyway, somebody has to hit to us. We would like somebody to hear what we say, and maybe the guys will say a few words. So what we have to do in order to move ahead, or to push this matter from the standstill. I have the question to you regarding the figures today. How many fighters who returned from the ATO zone require this kind of rehabilitation? If you have any figures like that. Well, generally speaking, we have to discriminate between different types of rehabilitation. It's very fashionable today to bring everything into the same basket and say that we have hundreds of thousands who require rehabilitation. We can talk about medical rehabilitation, including the medical, psychological, and physical rehabilitation, with some elements or components of social rehabilitation. Also, there is a psychological rehabilitation. Every person who is wounded, they are injured, not only bodily injured, but the mental injured. So this kind of comprehensive rehabilitation for all the wounded. I cannot give you exact figure of the number of wounded. Speaking about orders, we have about 10,000 wounded, and today, going through the simplified system of rehabilitation, we cannot even name it as a full-fledged rehabilitation because of the lack of the experts or skillful experts. We are talking about the spinal patients. We have those whose extremities were amputated and some kind of the let's say the brain and the skull damage. And in the Ministry of Defense, we have 4,800 servicemen who went through this rehabilitation. It continues. None of these servicemen without three-stage rehabilitation. And what actually is included in those three stages. First of all, providing the immediate or emergency medical aid in the hospitals, reconstructive surgical operations in the hospitals second order, military medical centers with elements of rehabilitation, specialized departments, and today we have actually two specialized centers.
It's a Lviv center specialized on the most serious wounds. There are the wounds of the spine and brain. There is a center we made, and both centers were made thanks to the cooperation of Ministry of Defense and civil organizations, diaspora volunteers. There is a joint project where we could show the possibility to solve the issues, and we were calculating about 37% they had rehabilitation in some form. But anyway, we can't even talk about the correspondence of our rehabilitation to world standards. And briefly, please. Vsevolod, you told us about the Ukrainian hospital. We know very well how the Lviv hospital works, but at the same time, Irina was talking about Odessa Rehabilitation Center, Lusdorf, but we couldn't get any concrete information about it. Who is standing behind the center? Is it Ministry of Defense or some NGOs? Could you tell us at least something about this topic? I can't tell you about anything because I know about Lusdorf the same as you do. That it was proposed the building of rehabilitation center. I saw the project. I don't remember where did I see it, but I saw the proposals. Who is doing it and how it will be function? I can't tell you, but in general, the idea of that project was rather high quality. How it will be executed, taking into consideration its costs. The Ministry of Defense has nothing to do with this project, and at the same way, I know that any of the structures of power authority of Ukraine don't. Rehabilitation system, and by the way, tomorrow there will be a meeting of military coordination meeting devoted to rehabilitation issues. You can get information for media from press office of the Ministry of Defense, because it will be a half-closed event. For the time being, rehabilitation help in the Ministry of Defense is given in the resorts. Now we have 4 or 5 of them. 2 resorts in the security service of Ukraine, one of them bodyguard service of Ukraine. There are resorts that will rebuild to some kind of rehabilitation center, but without personnel, without this specialty of physical therapist, ergotherapist, we can't change it much. We can give all our efforts, we can live at office, but without having special skills, we can't go further than some better sample of Soviet resort.
Okay, since we are very much pressed in time, a few words for each of you guys, and 10 seconds to each, actually. I would like to emphasize that the spa and the resort rehabilitation, the latest stage of this kind of rehabilitation, but there is an acute and subacute kinds of rehabilitation, which are almost absolutely absent in this country. The acute one stage starts from the very moment when the patient is admitted to a hospital. Then the subacute rehabilitation, and this must be the focus of our attention now. Victor, you have the floor. What I can add, I'll be very brief. we should not build or spend a lot of money for new rehabilitation centers, not even spend the money, but launder the money on the basis of such centers. First of all, we need the highly specialized, top-notch personnel. It's better to spend money for their training and education so that we had more skilled personnel. The material base is not that important as compared to the number of good, highly skilled experts. And those would like to address those people who block or are in the way of development of rehabilitation science in Ukraine. If you do not want to help us, at least do not be in our way to do that. And speaking about the social welfare, you can see what kind of wheelchair we use. This is something which our friends volunteers helped us to get those wheelchairs. The government actually provides us with the wheelchairs, but let them try to sit in those wheelchairs they provide us with for one day only, just to understand what is that. He was not given by the wheelchair. I am still on the list because we have to provide a lot of documents. Actually, we can actually move in the room, sitting in those wheelchairs, but not outside in the street. Let them try how easy it is to move. So somebody can say, yeah, we have wheelchairs, but what kind of wheelchair they have? We do not have, nothing is provided by the government. Everything is provided for us by the volunteers. In the Lviv hospital, the department was actually created at the cost of the money of the volunteers. All the equipment, all the offices, all the wards were actually built and equipped at the cost of the money collected by the volunteers, not the government. Just a few words. After being wounded, and it's 15 months after I was wounded, it's no sense for me to go home because there is no accessibility. And where I lived in the Zaporizhia region, they found some reason. They called me and they asked when you're going to come home. I answered that I don't know. I didn't know when I'm going to appear there because I never reached my home place after being wounded. So they actually found, regard my words as if I refused from the wheelchair. So they decided they have a good reason not to provide me with a wheelchair. So they actually found the lame excuse because it's very difficult for them to go to the new Novaya Pochta, new mail service and send it to me. Roman? No. Okay. Thank you, guys. I'm not going to say many words because what you have done for all of us and for the Ukraine, there are no words enough to thank you for that. And I would like to specifically thank Uliana, Messi, and Vsevolod for the huge work you do together with those guys. Thank you. Thanks a lot indeed. Actually, this exhausts the agenda of the work of the Ukrainian Crisis Media Center. Tomorrow we'll start at 9 o'clock. The Skype connection with ATO headquarters. Thank you.